What's up, YouTube? It's Thien back with another video. Today's video is going to be about my opinion on FAANG and the whole top tier one. I'd like to say tier zero, honestly, when it comes to FAANG or Mang or whatever you want to call it, FAANG Moolah, Mang Moolah, whatever you want to say. Basically, the top companies in the tech industry, whether that's Meta, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, all the tech unicorns out there, Microsoft, Netflix, whatever. I consider those tier zero. I know across the internet you're gonna see them as tier one. I kind of think of like the acronyms themselves as the tier zeros, like the Harvards, the Ivy League, like the big four in the finance industry, just the big tech, right? Amazon, Meta, Apple, Netflix, and Google. And then everything else below that is like the tier one, in my opinion. And so, my opinion actually is that they're not really the move. Tier one, tier two, whatever. Tier zero and tier one, they're not the move, guys. And the reason being is because one, they're just jobs at the end of the day. Two, the pay isn't actually all as great as they make it out to be. Don't get me wrong right now. I would absolutely take these jobs if offered, and I suggest that if you get any of these offers from any of these top tech companies, to take those job offers. But I'm saying that we shouldn't be putting all our eggs in one basket. I think that having it be the end all be all is not the move. And again, going back to this is about how these jobs are essentially just jobs and just that. And two, the pay isn't all as it's made out to be. And three, there's actually a lot of bureaucracy that can be at a disadvantage for us engineers out there. And I'm going to provide my opinion, better solution at the end of this video. So let's get into the whole job portion. And what I mean by when I say job is a job, what I mean by that is that a job is essentially the same everywhere in and outside of technology when it comes to corp. And what I mean by that is corporations. You know, you have projects, you have deadlines, you have managers, you have skip managers, you have a hierarchy, and you have a huge processes that you have to go through when it comes to, making this, making your paychecks. And although tech industry does push boundaries when it comes to like agile workflow and how they go about their projects and product management, it's still essentially that product management, and that doesn't just live inside technology. That happens everywhere across industry, whether that's in banking, whether that's in fashion or what have you, like culinary arts, restaurant business. Business is business at the end of the day, and so these jobs are that too as well. They're jobs, and they pay a lot more just because the market for tech is booming in terms of how much market cap there is. But yeah, so going back to a job is just a job. The benefits are marginally better. I think the benefits are actually a hindrance towards your growth as a individual. Like you always hear about the free food and the campus being huge and all these things. And in today's world in 2023, remote work is working from home, especially after the quarantine, is more ideal for a lot of people. And the incentive to have you return to office is kind of crazy. I'm definitely going to talk about return to office in another video. And then let's talk about the pay, how it's a misconception in tier zero, tier one companies, top tech companies. And what I mean by that is that it's not that they don't pay a lot, right? I think what I understood throughout my time getting offers at top tech companies and middle tech companies and low tech companies and non-tech companies even, I've gotten offers from non-tech companies as a senior software engineer at Colgate a while back. And even then, that offer was almost $170K. That was my first offer out of boot camp. And that's what I'm trying to say here, yo. Pay isn't differentiated by working for a top tech, top tier company. At the end of the day, every software engineer job is making six figures. If you're finding someone in the U.S., and this is in the U.S., if you're finding someone making under six figures, they're getting very well underpaid, and that's just facts. Like junior levels are still making bare minimum 100K, and when it comes to the bigger paychecks, like the 200, 250, 300, 450, 500K jobs, you got to keep in mind all of these total compensations are majority in RSUs. And for those of you that don't know RSUs, that's basically a form of stock that's it's essentially as good as cash, just getting stock units or shares in the company that add up to your total compensation. And the problem with this is that a lot of companies that do offer RSUs, they come with a cliff. A lot of companies do a cliff and what a cliff is when you join the company and you get offered, let's say like 200K base salary for a senior role, and then they offer you 300K in RSUs. Let's just use simple math there. These offers do exist, and the difference is you see that the base salary is still, sub 250K. No matter your role, I know that even when you get to the principal staff or even engineering managers, you're getting paid at most 250K. This goes all the way to the C-suite. I think when we're hearing about a lot of like the CEOs, CTOs, CFOs, COOs, or whatever, all the C-suite getting paid millions of dollars, you would notice that their base salary still sits like sub 250, sub 300 max. And there are very rare exceptions to this, and I think Netflix is a very good example. And I would say for myself, if I were to ever go for a top tier company, and which I've tried many times to get into, was Netflix. They're known to just pay in pure cash. And when the market was booming, you were seeing offers of 450 to 650K cash for senior level roles, right? Not even principal, not even staff. Senior level roles getting paid 450 to 650K cash. That's a crazy offer, right? That's absurd. And I think that's amazing, And I'm not bashing RSUs. RSUs is a great form of compensation, but I'm saying it's a misconception, right? When you're saying your TC, your total compensation is, 500K, and like let's use my last job for example. Let's just use 500K for example, and 300K of that is RSUs and 200K of that is base salary. So I'm getting paid 200K for the year, right? And I got a 1-year cliff, so I'm not getting paid the rest of that 300K until I complete a year of employment. Well, last year around November, the great layoffs happened, right? And I did get laid off, but thank God I got laid off. My layoff was effective like a month after my 1-year RSU cliff went up, so I still ended up receiving that 1-year amount. But if I started like a month later, I would have never seen that amount, and that's a fat amount. 300K, pre-tax obviously, but still 300K is a fat lump sum of money. And this is what I'm trying to allude to as well. It's not the top tier companies that are paying these absurd amounts of money or even just forms of RSU. My whole thing on pay is that you should be looking for jobs. If you want high pay, then you should be looking for jobs that are offering RSUs. And we have to remember that there's a lot of publicly traded companies out there, and they're not all just in the tech industry. Like for example, when I was working at Key Bank, they were publicly traded and we were offered RSUs as well. That's just to let you know that there are opportunities to make great sums of money outside of top tier companies in the tech industry, right? There's some top tier companies that actually don't even pay a lot. I think a well-known example within the FAANG industry or within the top tier companies is Microsoft. They're known to pay peanuts, right? They're known to pay their seniors like sub 170K with like sub 100K RSUs, and this is senior level, right? And that's like still under 300K. They're making under 250K. I remember seeing like seniors making less than 250K total, right? And base salary like 150, 140, 130. I've seen base salaries at Microsoft going for like 80 to 90K for their entry levels, and their RSUs were to compensate. And the RSUs is like never over 100K, so their new grads were making like wants them to call in if they make past the cliff, right? And yeah, so it's a huge fallacy. It's a huge misconception. Educate yourself on that portion of it. I'm just trying to give advice on what I've seen and what I know to be true, at least for myself and a lot of my peers out here. And what we've seen as well is that there's a lot of bureaucracy that comes with these larger companies, these top tech companies, and bureaucracy can be a double-edged sword. I'm gonna go into the positive side of things when I talk about like the solution I have or the ideas I have when it comes to how you should go about looking at companies, especially in tech or just as a software engineer. It is a double-edged sword. The negative side and the downside of the double-edged sword is that the bureaucracy can lead you to a very siloed tech stack, a very difficult journey to climb the corporate ladder. You always run into this feedback loop of how you were really close to the promo metrics. I see you getting promoted next time. And the next time is like 6 months from now or next year, right? And so you get in this feedback loop that you're never getting promoted, you're barely getting any raises or no raises at that. And this is coming from firsthand experience. My first senior engineering role, I didn't get a raise or a promo for 2 years, and we had 6-month biannual reviews to get promoted. And the peers I had were not getting promoted or getting raises. So it wasn't just me. And this wasn't even just happening within the company I was working for. This was also happening across the industry and with my peers and a lot of people that I know from the boot camp that I graduated from, or people that I've worked with in the past, or people that I know that are also in the industry. I'm always hearing the same BS. I hope you'll get a promotion next time. You did very well and everything I asked for last review, but you just so happened to not meet these metrics, which I didn't mention last time. But you didn't meet those metrics, so I can't promote you this time. I can't give you a raise this time. But you're like this close, And you hear that all the time across the board. And I don't even think this is a common thing within tech industry or software engineering. I think this is actually very common within corporate America. And the reason being is because the lower they keep you, the longer they keep you, right? And the longer they keep you around, the longer they keep you around, the more they're getting, talent for the low. Keep jumping around. That's really the purpose of this video, and the point of this video is to keep looking for jobs, to keep open mind when it comes to what company you end up at. Just know that you're becoming, or you are, a software engineer, and that these companies, these top tech companies, don't matter. If you're looking for a bigger paycheck, then apply to more companies that are publicly traded, so they're more likely to have stocks to give you when it comes to the job offer. And even then, it shouldn't always be about the money, and you should be able to look for jobs that aren't publicly traded, because there's definitely a lot more private companies than there are publicly traded companies, which means there's a lot more job opportunities for you to pursue. And when you keep jumping around, that just adds to the amount of money that you'll be able to, generate when it comes to salary, because hopping from one job to another, you're able to go through the negotiation phase again. And within the negotiation phase again, you're able to negotiate higher numbers, higher margins, because that portion is a crucial time period when it comes to how much you're getting paid. When it comes to these promotion, annual reviews, semi-annual reviews, there's always a lot of leverage that the company has against you to give you a promo or a raise. And the raises are generally a lot lower than compared to if you were to jump to another company. And remember, these companies don't really care about you once you jump to another company. It's like you never existed to them. You were just a headcount for them in the long run. Definitely not to say or to be against camaraderie and making friends amongst your peers at your jobs. I've made many friends amongst my jobs in the past, and I still reach out to them to this day. But when it comes to the whole corporate ideal, it definitely, they just treat you like a number, and as they should, right? And it should go both ways. We should be treating them as a number, which is why we should continuously be looking for jobs and applying to jobs and interviewing and staying on top of the market, just as they are. They're continuously interviewing, and best believe that when you're gone, they already have your replacement in line. Don't fall into the trap of just going for these top tech companies. Go for any company that you can go for. They're just jobs at the end of the day. Definitely understand that these other jobs outside of the top tech companies can actually provide you with more learning. And I think this goes back to the whole bureaucracy being a double-edged sword. You're able to have more time. There's not as much of a serious deadline, and there's not as much of a silo tech stack. When you go to a large tech company, you tend to get assigned to like a single product, and there's just like a small niche of things that you learn, a subset of things that you learn. A lot of the other companies that are non-tech, like KeyBank, for example, I was working on a lot of different things. I was building the entire front-end architecture, rather than when I joined a top tech company, well, not top, but like a publicly traded company last year. This marketing SaaS company, they were bleeding edge, but at the same time, they had so much that was already structured that I was only playing with a portion of the app, just building small features here and there. And that can be a dope thing when you're trying to fly under the radar, when you're just trying to, do your own thing, especially if you're like working multiple jobs like I am. I think as much as you can fly under the radar as possible, that's ideal, so you can have longevity when it comes to multiple jobs. It's hard to juggle multiple jobs, so when it's less demanding, it's a lot more helpful. I know like the majority of people out there that are pursuing software engineering careers, or that are currently software engineers, tend to be more junior. I think that's just how it goes. And so being junior, it's actually very important to try and be open to working at these lesser known companies. Saying tier 0, tier 1 tech companies are not the move. They're not that big of a deal. It's just another company. It's just another job. Every software engineer job, for the majority of it, pays 6 figures. There's nothing to it. And I think in conclusion, all I'm trying to say is that we don't need to be putting all of our eggs in one basket. Apply to those jobs. Just definitely keep applying. And definitely take those tier 1, tier 0 jobs if you get them. I'm not bashing on any of them. I'm not saying they're bad jobs per se. I'm just saying play the numbers game. Increase your opportunities by applying to as many as you can. Don't make it the end-all be-all when it comes to these top tech companies. And trust me, the job itself doesn't matter. I'm going to make another video on that next time. The job itself does not matter. Trust me. I'll go through the day-to-day of these jobs, at least from my experience. And again, these are all opinions. You might not share them. You might not share any of the opinions. And that's okay. These opinions of mine aren't for everybody. But whoever they are for, definitely learn from the mistakes that I made. And there's definitely one time in life, early in my career, where I was just trying to get into Google. And you know what? I've applied at Google on-site final rounds probably damn near 6 times now. Still never got an offer. And that's okay. That's okay, right? Because I still ended up getting an offer at a fairly large publicly traded company, and well-known company at that, tier 1, if I might say. But don't want to out myself out now since I'm still working here. So, and what I want to close out with is that we don't want to fall in love with the product. We want to fall in love with the progress. It's a spin-off of one of my favorite quotes from E.T., the hip-hop preacher, Eric Thomas. Amazing motivational speaker. Fall in love with the fall in love with the process, not the results. And I'm going to leave it with y'all on that one. Peace.